Both sides have lined up. The national anthems are on the way. We start with the South African one. Anthems there. That was the Uruguayan one. They normally begin with the team on our left. They are now going to play the national anthem of South Africa. Anthem of South Africa. This is 5 Live Sport, live from the World Cup. We are in Pretoria. It is South Africa against Uruguay. When I got those national anthems the wrong way round, Mike Sewell, David Moyes and Conor McNamara all looked to me, and all of them had a look on their face, went, yeah, you stuffed that up, didn't you? I never knew our commentary team tonight had such knowledge of national anthems. Conor, take it away.
So you're no good at dancing and you're no good at music. Right, you used to work for Radio 1.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Well, we've seen all 32 nations in action now at this World Cup. And, you know, despite Brazil playing last night and Spain earlier on today, there is no doubt that the hottest ticket here in South Africa this week has been for this match. The host country has been in a fever since Shabalala's wonderful goal against Mexico last Friday. And there has been an insatiable appetite for Bafana Bafana's return to action. Well, this is it. The hope, the expectation, The flashbulbs popping, the nerves evident, the vuvuzelas absolutely in clamour. But what about the football, David Moyes? We've seen two very good games today. People have saying the World Cup hasn't been great in terms of the action. If we can have half as good a game as we had earlier on, I think we'll do all right tonight.
Yeah, well, I think the players are now beginning to get over this sort of period of training. There's been a bit of rest, getting used to it. And, the one thing, what I would just say, I've just heard all the South Africans singing the national anthem, and it's much better than those vuvus. They were terrific. The start there was magnificent, and the way they all got behind their team. So let's hope we get a good game.
Yes, absolutely. Thank God that the vuvuzelas are quietened during the anthem. Some things are sacred, and I don't want to go through the whole vuvuzela debate again. We've done it more than enough here on 5 Live, but just to give you a local insight, the South African goalkeeper Kune complained on Friday at Soccer City that the noise was not loud enough. He was urging the supporters to get behind their team, so heaven knows what the noise is going to be like here when we kick off in just a few seconds' time. South Africa, their yellow jerseys, green shorts and yellow socks, away to our left-hand side. The Uruguayans in a change strip of all white. The referee is from Switzerland, and what a good day it's been for Swiss football already today, beating Spain in the last game to get the last two of the 32 underway here at South Africa 2010. The one change in the South African team is at left back, where Tsepo Masilela comes in, and he will miss the next game should he pick up a yellow card here. He was booked on the opener on Friday. That applies to 4 players spread over the two teams. The referee starts the game, and we are underway, and South Africa playing from left to right as we look down. Cavani has come in as a new striker for Uruguay, and Fusil as a defender. I'll give you a full rundown of the teams in just a moment, but possession with Kumalo and over to Masiela, and South Africa 10 yards inside their own half, and it's worked up into space for Letsholanyane, and then they'll come on the left-hand side, and Masilela loves to come forward. Challenge comes in on Stephen Pienaar. The referee blows the whistle, but the free kick will be Uruguay's. So South Africa 0, Uruguay 0, the hosts against 2-time World Cup winners in Uruguay. And it is cold here tonight, David, but actually not as cold as when you were out last night watching the game yesterday.
No, it certainly wasn't, but I think we're much more prepared tonight for it. I think we've all been out and bought hats and thermal gloves thanks to the staff at 5 Live, so it's not as cold, but hopefully the game heats us up.
Just to mention on the two coaches here, absolutely ridiculously experienced, Pereira and Tabarez. Between the two of them, how many jobs would you say that they've held between them, clubs and internationally? Take a wild start.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
They have had 37 coaching jobs between two men. So Pereira's played, I think, managed on every single continent, and Tabarez has been he's been in Europe and South America, but they have been around, and they'll bring all their experience into this game. So Kune is the South African goalkeeper. Gaka, Mokoena, Kumalo and Masilela are the back 4. 2 holding midfielders in Dikachoy and Letsholanyane. Then Mudisha goes forward down the right hand side. Pienaar through the middle. Shabalala, who scored, is on the left, and Mapela is the centre forward up front, and it is Shabalala in possession, trying to play it up towards Mapela. It's intercepted, and I think via a handball, because the referee has awarded a free kick near the halfway line, and a free kick to South Africa. Diego Forlan handled the ball. Yeah,
we're just waiting to get the game started. Both teams are just looking at each other, seeing how they're set up, but South Africa at the moment on the ball and hopefully trying to build some attacks.
This Group A, for now, all even, all 4 teams on 1 point each. Mexico and South Africa did score in the first game, whereas it was 0-0 between Uruguay and France, so they've got the slight advantage. Free kick here to South Africa is midway inside the Uruguayan half on the left-hand side. Mapele was fouled by Lagano, and this could be a chance for the host nation. David Moyes.
It's a good position early part of the game. If you can get a good delivery into the box now and see what it's made of, whether you go for goal or whether you look for one of the big men coming round the back.
There were only 4 South Africans around the edge of the penalty area. Pienaar around 10 yards outside it. Mapela and Shabalala, the two standing over the ball. Shabalala runs over it. Here comes the delivery. Logano's header up into the air. Will concede the opening corner in Pretoria.
Yeah, good ball in, great ball in, and just what they needed. And it's put them under pressure, Uruguay, right away. Right away, Stephen Pienaar's been on the ball 2 or 3 times more than he was in the other game. And you can start to see that South Africa look as if they're playing with a little bit more confidence, a bit more freedom.
So the corner to South Africa, left-hand side as they come forward. And again, there's just 4 yellow jerseys inside the penalty area. So the Uruguayans are not taking any risks. They've brought everyone apart from the front two, back behind the ball. Here comes the delivery towards the front post. Logano's missed it, but it is cleared away by Cavani, who was back helping out the defence. Good distance on the clearance as well, up towards Suarez, but the ball trickles out of play. Throw into Uruguay inside the South Africa half. Still scoreless on 5 Live.
Yeah, there was a half chance there. It just fell. It was a good delivery in the box, and there was a little opportunity for them.
As Logano, the Uruguay captain, plays his club football in Turkey with Fenerbahce. He went for the ball, didn't connect with it. It could have been a chance. Unfortunately for Uruguay, Cavani was there to clear it away. Down the other end, Uruguay have been awarded a free kick. 6 or 7 yards outside the penalty area, and this is a much more central location.
Yeah, it was a high foot by South African defender, but when you see it, both players put their foot up at the same height, and that, I think it's harsh, but it's a free kick which gets given normally by referees on the continent, so it's a real good position for Uruguay.
Mokoena, the South African captain, was the man who rose his leg too high up against Suarez, and Diego Forlan is the man lining up this free kick. 2-time European Golden Boot winner. South Africa have 6 men in the wall. The Vuvuzelas attempt to distract Diego Forlan, once of Manchester United. The blonde, straggly hair, the icy gaze as he weighs up the options here. The goalkeeper is standing to the left-hand side of the goal as he looks out. The wall, he hopes, is covering the area to his right. Here comes Forlan, straight into the wall. There's appeals. It's a handball off Stephen Pienaar, who ran out to try and smother the shot. It's a yellow card for the Everton man, and it's going to be another free kick, this time even closer for Forlan.
Yeah, I've seen Stephen do this before. He ran before Forlan strikes the ball, and he actually gets right down the line of the ball very bravely, but gets within 5 yards of it, and the referee in today's rules will give a booking, and that's disappointing for Stephen, because you don't want to be booked so early in the game.
It is early in the game. He's going to have to be careful from now on, but South Africa's immediate concern, another free kick just outside the D. This time, Maxi Pereira has come over as maybe a chance. It looks like Forlan is going to roll it for Maxi Pereira. I mentioned it's closer to the penalty area, and in that sense, maybe more difficult for Forlan to get it up over the wall and back down again. All the talk about this new ball. We've yet to see a cracking free kick at this World Cup. This is Forlan, straight into the wall. No handball this time, and South Africa survived.
Yeah, it was blocked again, this time by the blocker. They changed over, and I'm glad to see so that Stephen wasn't the same one again. But there was a chance, and you're right, there's nobody really put the ball up and down over the wall and scored from a free kick, and it was more of a sort of half shot by Forlan.
So 2 attempts at goal from Diego Forlan, who's got a very good goal-scoring record at international level as well as club level, but both of them striking opponents in the wall. The throw-in is on the left-hand side, and Jorge Fusil, who plays his football in Portugal with Porto, has come forward to take it, finds Suarez on the edge of the area, 1-2 with Forlan, back to Suarez, left-footed shot is wide. It's a good build-up, good connection between the front two.
A great little bit of combination play between Forlan and Suarez, and he had for a moment he was in good 1-2 edge of the box, and a little bit unlucky not to get something from it.
Well, the South African national team started their campaign in Johannesburg on Friday, and here in Pretoria, it's a stadium that the national team are not used to playing in, but they do have a good record here, unbeaten in the 5 games that they've played in this stadium back over the years. As possession with Gaka, the right back, gives it up towards Modise. He thinks he's fouled. Play on, says the referee. This could be dangerous now as Uruguay come down the left-hand side. Forlan for Fusil. He's confident, comes into a shooting position, corner angle of the penalty area, but he's dragged the shot wide again. It's a goal kick to South Africa. We've played 7.5 minutes, and it's 0-0 on 5 Live.
Yeah, just come inside onto his right foot in the corner of the box and get a shot away. Uruguay just look as if they've got a little grasp of the game at the moment, just trying to get forward a bit more. South Africa still really trying to get a grip of the game just now.
Well, I was in Cape Town on Friday night when Uruguay drew 0-0 with France, and the aftermath of that, many people saying that the French were poor. I think Uruguay made things very difficult for them on the night. They're an organised team, as Pinar here for South Africa goes to ground on the halfway line. No free kick. Uruguay win possession, but it's won back again by Letcholinyani. And now the referee blows the whistle for a Uruguay free kick. And they want to take it well inside the South Africa half. The referee is going to make them bring it back a little bit closer to the halfway line. But all this is just more pressure on the host nation in the early stages.
Yeah, they've just not really got a grip of it. The first minute or two, they earned themselves a good corner kick. But the last few minutes, they've given away a couple of free kicks, and now they've got another chance of the ball getting into the box. It's
a bit similar, this, David, to the opening game for South Africa. They were up against the ropes for the first 20 minutes.
They were. It's as if they've just not really got a grip of it yet. Stephen started by getting on the ball a couple of times, but that's just not been the case in the last minute or two.
That's the voice of the Everton manager, David Moyes, watching this game with us here in Pretoria. Free kick to Uruguay. Played in by Logano. He's going to jump and try and head it down in the penalty area. And he can't get to it. The ball trickles harmlessly out of play. And that's relief for South Africa. A goal kick for them away to the left-hand side.
It was a pretty good worked free kick by Uruguay. One of the players spun round the back and was free. And again, the flight of the ball, which we've seen a lot in the tournament, just goes above his head and out.
Yes, Diego Logano, the captain, was the man who'd gone forward. He scored against Costa Rica in the playoffs. Uruguay were the last side to confirm their place here at South Africa 2010. Ironically, tonight up against, technically the team who first knew they were going to be taking part, because the hosts don't have to qualify. As soon as the World Cup was awarded to South Africa, they knew they'd be here, and Uruguay were the last team to find out when they had to go via the playoffs. Geka takes a throw in from the right full-back position, comes back to him with the tight haircut and the red boots, and he gets a third touch of the ball. None of them really under his control. The ball goes out of play, and the throw-in will be Uruguay. I think the referee and linesman between them weren't too sure who had got the last touch there. They've given the benefit of the doubt to Uruguay, and the South Americans take the throw in. Fusil, it's won back by Mokoena, and the Portsmouth man clears up to the halfway line. This time it's Godin who wins the header, and Pinar tries to control, and the referee isn't happy. I think maybe a raised foot, and that will be a free kick to South Africa. A chance, David, for them to push into the Uruguayan half for a while.
Yeah, I think they just need to get the ball down and try and make a few passes, gain a little bit from it, and start building up the game. But at the moment, Uruguay are pressing the game. I can tell right away the game's got a little bit more edge to it. I think you can see all the players a little bit more brighter than they were in the first game. Well, certainly the start of even for South Africa.
This is the 2010 World Cup on the BBC. South Africa 0, Uruguay 0, and we've played almost 11 minutes. And it's Fusil who's on the left-hand side, up towards Cavani. That was Alvaro Pereira. And it was a bit of an aimless ball toward general direction of Luis Suarez, but much too close to the South African goalkeeper. And Bafana will regain possession and build up through the field. And the crowd get to their feet as soon as the South Africans get to the halfway line. They've had precious little possession inside their opponent's half, and even now they're still just inside their own half, as it's played back by Digachoy to the back four, and Mokoena asking a lot of Khumalo. And then enough of that tippy-tappy stuff. He gives it the long boot into the Uruguay half, but that relinquishes possession. And then it's Suarez who finds Forlan for Uruguay, and a careless ball into the area will be shepherded back by Masiela, and a goal kick to South Africa, whose goalkeeper, Kune, is not happy about something. Probably that attempted pass across the back four. Khumalo looking for Mokoena, and it was almost a hospital pass.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the game really to get any real action. There was a free kicks at the edge of the box for Uruguay and a corner for South Africa, but it's just not quite settled down yet.
South Africa very much hoping that history will repeat itself at this tournament. Never in the history of the World Cup has the host nation been eliminated in the opening round. Possession on the halfway line, and Letcholinyani looks up for a little bit of help, but the only option for South Africa for the moment is to go backwards and back to Khumalo, and then all the way back to the goalkeeper Kune. Over to the right hand side to Aaron Mokoena, who won his 100th cap for South Africa in May. Tonight it's cap number 103. Long ball played forward towards the lone striker, Mapela. He can't get it under his control, and Uruguay clear it away back down the field. 0-0. Earlier on today, Honduras 0, Chile 1. And what about this for a scoreline? Spain 0, Switzerland 1. The former Manchester City player Gelson Fernandes scored the goal. Almost a break down the right for Gaka. He had a good first touch, and then he was immediately closed down. Ball goes out for a Uruguay throw.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at Uruguay. You know, at times they look as if they've got a back three or a back four. I think they're set up where they're flexible to go both ways. And, you know, at the moment they just look as if they've got a little bit more about them just now than what South Africa have.
Uruguay haven't reached the knockout stages of a World Cup since Italia 90. 20 years ago now, as the clearance is hooked up into the air by Lugano for Uruguay and controlled by Pinar, and he's challenged roughly from behind by Arevalo Rios, who's a real tigerish midfielder. Sort of reminds me of Nigel de Jong in the Premier League. Just likes to get stuck in and interrupt. Here's a shot from Shabalala. It's way over the crossbar, but it brings a cheer from the crowd. It's the first real effort from the host nation. It's gone way too high, but it's taken them 14 minutes to have a real crack at goal. Yeah,
and after his goal the other night, he's quite right to have a shot. It's interesting to see that Stephen Pina's up against like two holding midfield players for Uruguay, so every time he gets the ball in any space, one of them at the time is getting to him very quickly. So they have to exploit the other areas where Uruguay don't have their players.
Yeah, those two holding players, Arevalo Rios, who's one of the few players in this Uruguay squad who still plays in his home country, his club football. And Diego Perez, the other one, plays in France with Monaco. He's one of Uruguay's best players. He's very, very solid. Uruguay have edged their way down the left-hand side. They've won a throw-in, which Fusil will come forward to take. It's pretty much level with the corner angle of the penalty area as Uruguay come forward. White. Fusil is making a big deal here of wiping the ball on his jersey. He's going to take as long a run-up as he can as to swerve around a cameraman to get right up against the advertising hoardings. And arches his back, a high throw-in, which is flicked onto the front post by Suarez. The linesman's flag is raised because Cavani was offside.
Yeah, a long throw, and it was well flicked on, and the linesman's got it right. I think the player just went into an offside position. But if they can get the ball out to Shabalala, I think the way they've set up, I think there's a little bit of room out that side. They need to get out on the left-hand side with the ball, South Africa, and try and get them out there and see if they can start their attacks from there.
Dikachoy of Fulham passes to Gaka on the right-hand side, and South Africa edge their way into the Uruguay half here in Pretoria on a cold night, but there's no rain, there's not really much wind around either. Sholanjani will break into the centre circle and leaves off possession to Dikachoy once more with the orange boots. And a decent ball forward to Medise, and now they get it up to Shabalala, who goes for goal again, and again it's too high. This time he was trying to chip it to the top corner. It wasn't a blaster, it was really a lob, but it was too high.
I thought it was the wrong decision. He'd Stephen Pina on his outside. It was a good little bit interchange through the middle of the pitch. He's got Stephen Pina overlapping, and Stephen in the position he plays for us at Everton at this present time, just on the left, where I think if they can get the ball out there, they can cause them some problems.
50th cap for South Africa tonight for Shabalala, a name that's been on everyone's lips here since he scored what was, in all fairness, a brilliant goal on Friday to get this World Cup started. Uruguay have possession here with Cavani on the right-hand side. It goes off the shins of the defender Masilela, and that will be a throw into Uruguay down the right-hand side. So South Africa 0, Uruguay 0 here on 5 Live. Coming up tomorrow, 3 more World Cup commentaries. Argentina in action again up against South Korea, two teams who won first time round. Here come Uruguay on the attack. Suarez to the byline, sends in a low cross. It's flicked up into the air off Maqueda, and the goalkeeper comes and makes sure it's his. And then a long clearance down the field. Lugano will head those away all night for Uruguay. It comes back down in midfield for Sholanjani, and a good bit of movement here to get it to Mapela on the right hand side. Sends it one side of the defender, tries to run around the other. Fusila though will get there first. He'll touch it back to the goalkeeper Muslera, who's wearing a very bright orange goalkeeping outfit tonight, and Uruguay deal with that very comfortably. They don't panic in defence, these South Americans, not so far anyway.
No, South Africa are just getting a little bit of play through the middle of the pitch, and once again there's a bit of combination through the middle, but just couldn't quite do something with it when they get into the final third.
I was mentioning there the game's coming up tomorrow. Argentina South Korea starts at 12:30 UK time. France are back in action against Mexico That's the evening game. Greece play Nigeria in the afternoon in Group B. Here in Pretoria, no goals so far with 17 and a half minutes played. The Loftus Versfeld Stadium, nominally a rugby stadium, and one of the oldest ones being used in this tournament. Many of them are very shiny and very new, and this one's got a bit of old-time glamour about it. Dikachoy, close to the centre circle, up towards Pinar, and a decent touch as well. And this is better passing now as they get it to Modisa on the right-hand side. The fullback, Gaka, comes forward now. Back to Modisa on the right-hand side. Mapela waits in the middle. Modisa is taken down, and it's a free kick on the edge of the penalty area for South Africa.
Well, I don't know if the referee's got this right. I don't know if this is a dive in my first view, so I'll maybe see it again. I think he's going down quite easily. I think he's going down easy, but a really good position here to deliver a good ball in. They did do earlier on, South Africa, so this is another chance for them.
Cue the vuvuzelas around the stadium. National holiday here in South Africa. A lot of pride on show. And Shabalala is the left-footed option for this free kick, which is wide on the right-hand side. If he strikes it, it'll be in swinging. There's a two-man wall. It will be Shabalala. Deep towards the back post, won by a South African hand. I think it was Mokoena who was forward there, but he couldn't direct it towards goal. And the ball is cleared away, and Pinar will pick it up closer to the halfway line. But South Africa hold on to possession. Pinar of Everton with the yellow boots. Bit of a wayward ball across the field, but South Africa are going to lose possession, and Lugano allows it to trickle out for a throw.
Yeah, it was a good 1-2, but not a good pass for Stephen in the end. It went out the far side of the field. But South Africa again just beginning to grow in a little bit of confidence, getting a bit more of the ball now.
Such a popular player here in South Africa is Stephen Pinar. And Uruguay have possession at right back, and Maxi Pereira over the halfway line. A header for Diego Forlan. He's had those free kicks, David. We've not mentioned Forlan's name too much in commentary, though.
No, we've not, but the one who's catching my eye at the moment is Suarez. Suarez is certainly livelier. He's got to the byline, as you said earlier on. He was down the side with a 1-2. So he's just looking a bit livelier and looking a wee bit of a threat.
Yeah, very much one of the hottest young prospects in Europe is Luis Suarez. Has been playing with Ajax. 49 goals in 48 games this past season, and he is partnering Cavani with Forlan in behind them. It's an impressive strike force, and so far South Africa keeping them under wraps. Gaka on the right-hand side. 20 minutes played here in Pretoria. Back to Mokoena. Midway inside the South African half. Right of centre, and he turns and rolls it back to the goalkeeper, Kune. Dressed all in red. He's still very young, Kune, only 22. His birthday will pass before the next match. South Africa play France in the final group game. Uruguay will be up against Mexico. Either of these teams win tonight, it could be enough to bring them into the second round. Again, caution shown by Mokoena here, rolls it back to his goalkeeper, and then not a great clearance, gives it to Perez, but Uruguay aren't going to hold on to the ball here, and Shabalala has it left-hand side for South Africa. Good ball up towards Mapela to Masilela on the left-hand side, right up against the touchline. Pinar gets a ball in midfield, and then it's spun over here to the near side, and a bit of room for Gaka, but then, he's done very well. He slid there. Well, I was going to say he did very well, because it didn't look like he was going to be able to keep it in play, and in fact, he didn't. Yeah,
they're beginning to get a little bit of play, South Africa, trying to pass the ball through the middle. When they play 1 and 2 touch, they seem to move the ball better and are able to move Uruguay around. So they just need to keep doing what they're doing and try and get a better foothold in the game at this present time.
I say here that a win could be enough for either to go through. I don't think either can afford to lose this match tonight, as Forlan gives the possession to Diego Perez, and now an ambitious ball down the right hand side. Maxi Pereira in full flight, and didn't the fullback do well. Masilela sliding in to put it out of play. Throw in Uruguay. They take it quickly. 21 and a half minutes on the clock. Pinar gets it back for South Africa. Surely he's been fouled there. He has. It's a free kick to the host nation, and they take it quickly. And Pinar back to Khumalo. And then a low ball in midfield, and let's Sholiani up to the far side now, and just a little bit of space for South Africa.
The game's a bit more stretched than I've seen in the other games. It's a bit more open, a bit more space, as if both teams sort of understand how important it is to get a result tonight. And I can see Uruguay pressing the ball, which they do. They're getting up to the ball, getting up to the South Africans very quickly.
Ball possession. South Africa have had more of it in this first half so far. And Pinar passes into midfield up towards Mapela now. Looked like he'd been fouled there by Lugano, who seemed to have him in Bit of a headlock, but play on, says the referee. And this will be Maxi Pereira to come down the right-hand side. We are midway through the first half in Pretoria. 0-0 between South Africa and Uruguay on 5 Live. As Suarez goes for goal from a wide angle on the right-hand side. It's well held by the goalkeeper, Kure. We'll get a comment on that from David Moyes. And then Mike Sewell will talk you through to half-time.
Well, it's a great little turn again by Suarez. And at the moment, he's the one, the biggest threat looking for Uruguay just now. Big opportunity for South Africa on the counter there as well, and just didn't finish the last pass off.
It must be a cold South African evening. 3 of their players are wearing gloves tonight, and I think someone's just turned the thermostat down because it's just got a bit colder here in Pretoria as Uruguay have possession away to our left, attacking that goal occupied by Kune, who just watches it rise over his head for a goal kick. Kune in a all-red uniform, and from distance you could mistake him for a Liverpool player, the kind of red he's wearing tonight, whereas his opposite number at the other end of the field, Muslera, could be playing for Ivory Coast. Here come Uruguay, played up towards Forlan, midway inside the South Africa half. Right foot, a drive which dips! Oh, and goes in off the underside of the crossbar. And for once we've seen one of these long-distance efforts find its way past the goalkeeper and under the bar. Uruguay break the deadlock after 24 minutes. It's Diego Forlan's goal. They lead 1-0.
What a finish, what a strike. I think everybody was thinking, oh, well, if you're going to shoot from here, it's not going to go in. And on my first viewing, I've got to say, I'm hoping the goalkeeper's going to take off and go for it. And in the end, he didn't. So it's a great strike, great finish by Forlan, but certainly not closed down by South Africa.
25 yards out, dipping shot. It took a slight deflection, which whipped the ball, but it came down and just grazed the underside of the bar. And Kune was nowhere, David.
No, he doesn't even go for it. I think the one thing, if it beats him, you want your goalkeepers to take off and have a go. And for me, but looking at it again there, I think the height of it, the way it dips underneath the bar, it may have been difficult to get, but I think he stands and watches it get in.
So many players have tried long distance efforts and all the balls have tended to rise rather than come down. That's the first one we've seen dip.
That's about the first one we've seen sort of get up and down. It may well have taken a very slight deflection on the way through, but nevertheless Uruguay get the goal, and South Africa now need to come back from it.
They're trying to attack now, but the ball is cleared from the edge of the Uruguay penalty area by Godin, and then there's a free kick for a foul on Perez midway inside the Uruguay half. And Diego Forlan, so prolific in Europe, and of course winning the Europa League for Atletico Madrid at the end of last season, has made his mark on the world stage. Uruguay lead just past the midway point of the first half here in Pretoria on 5 Live Sport from the BBC. Earlier today there were 1-0 victories for both Chile against Honduras and for Switzerland, shockingly, against Spain. South Africa try and push forward down the left. Shabalala's ball is not good, and it's now with the goal scorer Diego Forlan on the halfway line. Back towards another Diego, Perez, into midfield for Alvaro Pereira, who moves down the left, but Edison Cavani loses possession to Medici, and it's now out left on the far side of the field, the South Africa left. Pienaar comes into play, moves forward, plays it short to Mpela, out wide again to the left back Masilela, and now infield to Dikachoy, the Fulham midfielder. Trying to stretch play from left to right here, South Africa. Patient build up, in no hurry here.
I think they were too slow. They had a great opportunity to get in, switch the play quickly, but at the moment they're just playing in front of Uruguay, and if they don't take their opportunities to get beyond them, they had a great chance there. And again, Uruguay are now all back behind the ball and saying, well, come on, let's see if you can beat us.
You notice when Forlan scored, we weren't riding on a wave of cheers or anything, were we? Here, South Africa come forward as it's headed away by Godin to the edge of the area. I think if South Africa score, it'll be a completely different scenario.
Definitely. There's a good Uruguayan support on the ground tonight as well, but obviously very difficult for them to be heard under the noise here.
They're going to be swamped by the vuvuzela and the cheers of the South Africa fans if Bafana do score tonight. Here's Aravalo Rios in midfield for Uruguay. Back to Godin, and now out to this near side of the field to Jorge Fusil. Back into Godin, who just says to Aravalo Rios, there's no hurry here, just patient build up. they have the advantage in this first half. Captain Logano out to the far side of the field. Perez. And now Maxi Pereira, a yard short of the halfway line, with a delicate chip down the line to Suarez. Gets the return pass as Maxi Pereira moves towards the edge of the South Africa penalty area. Out wide again. Just outside the box for Suarez. Deep cross to the far post. No one in a white shirt attacking that ball. And it just harmlessly dribbles out for a goal kick to South Africa.
Good play by Suarez again. Not the best cross in the end, but I'm just looking again at Forlan's finish, and it is a terrific strike. Gets right over the ball and strikes the ball with a bit of dip, but the ball looks as if it's about 6 or 8 feet above the bar and drops under it. So great start, and Uruguay now have got to go on and try and control the game now.
It certainly took a deflection off the South Africa captain Aaron Mokoena en route to goal. Whether that assisted the dip or not remains to be seen, but it's given Uruguay the lead, and they have possession again inside their own half on this near side, their left, in front of their manager Oscar Tabares.
Well, just looking in, South Africa not pressing the ball, and they're a goal down, they're at home with the supporters behind them. I mean, Uruguay have now kicked the ball out of play, which gives them a chance to get up into the final third. But I think South Africa, if they're going to get back into the game, are going to need to get a bit more pressure on the Uruguay defenders.
From the left, a cross into the Uruguay box, which is headed away by Arevalo Rios. And then Pienaar looked or felt he was brought down. Nothing given by referee Pazaka. And away comes Alvaro Pereira. Forlan picks it up deep inside his own half. Suarez now across the halfway line. Pushes play out to the right. Maxi Pereira steps away from one challenge by Shabalala. And now it's back with Pereira just outside the penalty area. Twisting and turning and trying to find space, but eventually Dikashoy robs him of the ball, and it's played up early to Mpela, who runs past Vasile with his strength and then comes out to this near side of the field, goes past him for a second time. Mpela towards the corner flag, low ball in, he'd done all the hard work, the cross was poor.
That was better though, it was nice and positive, random, got the crowd up, and it showed that he can run away from the centre half if he wants to do so. So I think they need to get more of that. They need to try and get forward a bit quicker. I think they're playing in front of Uruguay too much. Stephen Pienaar's receiving the ball, he's back to goal too often. They need to try and get him facing them and getting able to play some passes through.
Half an hour played here on 5 Live. The voice you just heard is that of the Everton manager David Moyes, who's with us this evening in Pretoria, watching Uruguay lead South Africa by 1-0. Shabalala was trying to break away on the left-hand angle of the penalty area, but the man who scored the opening goal of this tournament failed to succeed. Here's Diego Perez in midfield for Uruguay, up towards Forlan, still inside his own half, and then play out to this near side to find Fusil. Just checks and then plays it back to Diego Godin once more, the Villarreal defender. And now out to another Diego Perez towards the right hand side, still inside the Uruguay half. A succession of passes before eventually it crosses the halfway line and then returns into Uruguay territory, and it's up early to Forlan. Poor first touch. South Africa have possession back. Letsolanyane now just inside the Uruguay half, and again the move breaks down, and neither team able to retain possession at the present time.
No, again, Uruguay even had a chance to keep the ball at the back, because it looks as if South Africa aren't going to come up to them and get to them, so they could have kept it a little bit longer, force them to come on to them and then play around them. But South Africa still at present look as if they don't have the ball, they're just going to let Uruguay have it and wait on them making the mistake.
Tomorrow you can hear commentary of 3 matches once more at lunchtime from Soccer City in Johannesburg. It's Argentina against South Korea. Both teams won their first matches in the group stage. Then mid-afternoon in Bloemfontein, Greece against Nigeria, both of whom lost to the previous 2 teams. And then from Group A, this group, in the evening in Polokwane, France versus Mexico. Uruguay lead here with 13 minutes left of the first half. They have possession inside the South Africa half on the far side of the field, their right. Maxi Pereira returns the ball from Cavani and then tries to play a cross in towards Luis Suarez. South Africa don't clear it properly. Suarez, tight angle inside the area, shoots into the side netting. And South Africa almost made to pay for dallying inside their own 18-yard box.
He looks a real threat tonight, Suarez. Just went in the outside of the centre back, and if he gets the shot on target, I think he scores. Looking really impressive, and with Forlan scoring the goal as well, they're looking a force up front tonight. But I've got to say, I don't think South Africa have done that well at the back at the moment in time. They should be getting a bit tighter to them, trying to put them under a bit more pressure, and especially Forlan's goal, he wasn't closed down.
That's a good ball forward by Forlan. Cavani was the target. The ball just skipped away from him and into the arms of Kune. Just going back to that Suarez shot, David, was on our blind side. With the benefit of a replay, that was a lot closer than we thought. It just grazed the outside of the post and into the side netting.
I thought it was a chance. I've been impressed by Suarez. His attitude. They've looked as if they want to work harder at the moment than out of possession than what South Africa do. And because of that, then they're putting them under pressure. South Africa are getting limited to small opportunities, like possibly the one they've got now. They've got a free kick.
Taken quickly by Modise, played in by Gaka, out for a corner to South Africa. Suarez, incidentally, the Dutch Footballer of the Year. Not surprising, given he scored almost 50 goals last season in all competitions.
It's interesting to see. We'll get a corner now to South Africa. Uruguay have left 2 players up the pitch. It means that you're limited now. We've seen it. There's a quick corner on now for South Africa.
Shabalala's cross from the right, swung in with his left boot, but it's cleared by Uruguay and up towards Diego Perez, and trying to create some form of counter-attack. Here is Alvaro Pereira. Diego Forlan's 24th minute dipping shot from 25 yards out has given Uruguay the lead as we move into the final 10 minutes of the first half. Here's Forlan, the goal scorer, looking to Maxi Pereira inside on the right side of the field. Back to Forlan once more, and then right-footed he switches play to the Uruguay left. Diego Perez has it. Fusil is outside him, midway inside the South Africa half. Back to Perez, long ball over the top. Forlan trying to get there, but it's not good enough, and it's back with Kune, who clears immediately upfield, but his accuracy is poor.
No, it is. They've given the ball away again, and Uruguay now are going to be on. South Africa aren't really getting close. Every time they go to it, they're just popping it off Uruguay. They can't really get a grip of the game at the moment at all. But Uruguay in control, and with the presence of Forlan, Suarez up front, they look a real threat.
Calmly played across the back once more, not for the first time. Godin, Logano, Fusil, and now Perez involved, and it's back to Godin once more. And South Africa just aren't pressing them in those positions,
no pressure at all. And if it was me, I would definitely, especially at home, you've got your own support behind. You're going to have to put a bit more pressure and try and get after the ball, because if not, the time will soon run away from you.
Well, Godin has got at least 15 yards in front of him, clear. It's basically they're running to Pereira's rule.
Yeah.
Here's Pienaar trying to move forward, but he's crowded out by white shirts, and away comes Godin, who sprints towards the halfway line and then now is out of position because he's lost possession. Shabalala, left-hand angle of the area, chips the ball in over the top of Mpela, and it's going to be left to dribble out of play for a goal kick to Uruguay.
It wasn't a bad little cross he put in there, but again, South Africa have only got one in the box, and Stephen Pienaar, who's playing behind the striker in this occasion, set the ball wide, couldn't make the box. They had nobody else going to join in. So if they do get into good positions, they're going to have to get more people who make the box.
Just going back to the pressing or not pressing of the South Africa team, that's obviously on instruction from Carlos Alberto Pereira.
It must be. They look as if they're happier to keep their shape and keep it right, and they're not pressing the ball when Uruguay have got it. They're letting them make decisions, and I think the supporters who would like to see them get after the game, try and show what it means. At the moment, they're not. Uruguay can keep the ball quite comfortably at the back.
And the sound of the vuvuzela is certainly slightly toned down from many of the matches we've seen and attended here at the World Cup in South Africa on a chilly night in Pretoria. It's Uruguay who lead the hosts by 1-0 as we move into the 37th minute of this game, and it's South Africa who have possession with Gaka in the right back position, forced back to his captain Mokoena, and now Kamalo has it back once more, midway inside his own half. Dikashoy now out to the far side of the field, the South Africa left, and now to the feet of Masilela. There was any change to tonight's team. Lucas Twala dropping out for Masilela to come into the side. Now it's Shabalala in midfield. Gak had come across. Now it's back with Mokoena again, and it's almost very similar to what Uruguay are doing in their own half, passing the ball around very patiently. Shabalala to the halfway line to Modise. Up towards Mpela. Mpela tries to get away from Logano. Looking for the foul, says referee Bazaka. Play continues. The
difference is Uruguay are happy for South Africa to pass the ball in their half and keep it. I think they must have had 10 or 15 passes, South Africa, but never crossed the halfway line. It's up to now South Africa to try and take the game to Uruguay, first of all to try and get back in the game.
They have possession in the right back position, played into Perez once more. Forlan then lays it off quickly. Cavani tries to play it up towards Alvaro Pereira, but he fails in doing so. But then South Africa failed to keep the ball, and it's back with Uruguay once more. Maxi Pereira on the far side of the field, inside the South Africa half. Up to Cavani, just outside the box. Back to Pereira once more. Looks for some space on the right flank, some room to get in a cross. But Masalela comes over and tries to deal with him. Eventually he clears. But again, South Africa don't keep the ball, and it's back with Logano, the captain. Cavani. Via Pereira, it finds Aravelo Rios. Now it's with Facile on the left flank for Uruguay. Into Forlan once more, the goal scorer. 6 minutes to go to half-time. South Africa 0, Uruguay 0 on 5 Live Sport from the BBC. Here's Aravelo Rios up towards Suarez. It's a loose pass, and it's easily cleared by Mokoena. But again, neither team here, David, able to hold on to the ball for any real length of time to create a problem. No, and I think South Africa have got to try and get themselves into half-time only 1-0 down at the moment. You know, they're on the attack at this moment in time, they've got a chance, but again, they play backwards, back into the middle of the pitch, and not going forward quick enough for me. Letsolinyane plays it to Modise. Modise almost loses possession to Godin, who does press him. Here's Gakat down the right flank, away to our right, swung in by Modise, headed by Mpela. Not a bad effort from distance, plenty of spring in the rise off the turf and plenty of power in the header, but the accuracy wasn't quite there. No, it was a decent ball in, and he gets up well, but they're taking some goal, I think, to score from there from a header. 5 minutes to go to half-time. Uruguay leading here in Pretoria, as the goal kick from Muslera is poor, and it's gone straight out for a throw into South Africa on the halfway line. 10 yards in front of when Carlos Alberto Pereira, the South Africa coach, is watching from the edge of his technical area. Vastly experienced in the World Cup. He's taken Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Brazil on 2 occasions, of course winning once, and Saudi Arabia to World Cup finals. There isn't anybody more experienced at this stage of world football than him, and it was 1994 where he was victorious for his native Brazil. He popped into the training ground before the World Cup to see Stephen and had a bit of lunch with us, so it was great to sit with someone with vast experience, and I think he enjoyed his day in our training ground in Liverpool. And often confused with the Carlos Alberto who played for Brazil in the 1970 World Cup. Not the same person. Correct. Here's Logano for Uruguay, the captain, as he chips the ball downfield, and I don't know who he saw in a white shirt, but I couldn't see anybody there. No, I think Uruguay will be happy to go into half-time 1-0 up at the moment, but South Africa are going to have to, just up the tempo a little bit, and I'm sure if they can get it at half-time, the manager will let that know. And I think the crowd as well, I think look as if they're sat down, there's not an awful lot to cheer for them, so they're needing a little bit more. They need to press because their final group match is against France next Tuesday in Bloemfontein. Of course, the final group matches will all be played at the same time in each group, that is. So there's no unfair advantage to teams who might know of a score earlier in the day. They'll be played at the same time. Here's Gaka for South Africa down the right. Could they get an equaliser late in the first half? Facile certainly doesn't want South Africa to do so because he robs Modise of the ball, and it's now played downfield. Suarez is hacked from behind by Dikachoy, and Dikachoy has been booked, and that means he will miss the game against France next Tuesday because he's already received a yellow card in this tournament. So Dikachoy misses the final group match.
Yeah, he just goes in a bit tight with him. Suarez, again, what he's done, especially in the early parts of the game, he's put his body in and rolled him, and he's turned really well, Suarez. I've been impressed when the ball's been played into his feet, how well he's turned with the ball.
So the Fulham midfielder may be making his last appearance of the World Cup, unless South Africa can do what every other host nation has done in the past, and that's reach the second round of the World Cup finals. They have to defend here. Down the left, Cavani for Uruguay. Edge of the area, steps in onto his right foot, tries to shoot, almost falls kindly for Suarez. Eventually it's played out to the far side to Diego Forlan, who scored the goal here. Uruguay lead 1-0 with 2 minutes left of the first half. Arevalo Rios out wide to the right to find Forlan. Perez is there. Perez wins the throw-in for Uruguay midway inside the South Africa half.
Good play by Uruguay again. You know, looked as if little bits of play again, and they got themselves into the box. So they're certainly looking a good side. Suarez, especially, is the one who's impressed me. Forlan and the players round the edges of them as well are doing a really good job.
They have possession right by the touchline. It's chipped in field, but headed away by Dikachoy momentarily. Forlan with a neat back heel into the path of Perez. Arevalo Rios then picks it up. Suarez on the right flank, tucks the ball inside very neatly. Maxi Pereira moving forward, barged off the ball on the edge of the area by Dikachoy, and then a long distance effort from Arevalo Rios goes out for a goal kick.
Yeah, that's more like the shooting we've seen in the majority of the World Cup at the moment. That one flies high and wide. But no, Uruguay again looking a threat when they get forward up round the edge of the box.
Kune will take the goal kick. Just a minute left of the first half as it's chipped into the Uruguay half. Headed forward though to Forlan, breaks away from one challenge but steps right into the path of Aaron Mokoena, who plays it infield. Letsolanyane via Pina finds Shabalala on the far side, back into Dikachoy in midfield for South Africa. Out wide to Masalela, a yard in from the touchline. Shabalala, Pina. Ball is ahead of Modisa, misjudged the pass. Uruguay have it back. It's on this near side of the field with Fasil, and left-footed he just guides it back to Godin, and there'll be no urgency here from Uruguay as they just see the clock tick towards 45 minutes. Alvaro Pereira, poor first touch again from him. Away by South Africa, but likewise a poor pass. Cavani then loosely finds a South Africa player. Letsolanyane into Pina. Shabalala now to Dikachoy, and Modisa on this near side for South Africa. Gaka, a yard in from the touchline. And that's it. The referee has blown his whistle. Right on the 45. No added minutes here in the first half in Pretoria. And one goal has divided the two teams so far. A dipping effort from 25 yards by Diego Forlan, which via a deflection off Mokoena went in off the underside of the crossbar. Chances few and far between, and South Africa are going to have to up their game if they're going to get back into this match, David Moyes.
They certainly are. I think they need to look to get after the ball a bit quicker, and I possibly would have to move Stephen Pienaar out to the left or out to the right where he plays for Everton, and then probably put on another centre forward now, because if not, then you know it's not quite cup football yet, but it's not far away from it.
Slightly muted atmosphere here in Pretoria.
South Africa has been riding on a wave of optimism since their opening game, but this is a big test for them now. For the first time, the host nation are behind at this World Cup, and they had the lead against Mexico and gave away an equaliser. This time round in Pretoria, Bafana are chasing an equaliser of their own. What have you thought when you summed this up in your head over half-time, David Moyes? Can South Africa get back into this?
Well, they need to get after the ball much quicker and not give their free kicks away as many as they did in the first half, and they've just given one away a moment ago. But Uruguay on the attack at this moment.
Cavani, back heel to the impressive Suarez, and a good turn to try and get away from Shalabala. Uruguay hold on to possession. Maxi Pereira stretches at the byline, swings in a low cross, easily taken by the goalkeeper Kune. Just for the listeners at home, there are two Pereiras in the Uruguayan team. Maxi Pereira plays on the right-hand side. Alvaro Pereira plays on the left. Possession inside the centre circle. Referee has blown the whistle as a offside as the Uruguay defence all pushed up. Just looking down at the formations, Pienaar still playing in behind Mapela. I'll give you a full rundown of the team here. We think there's been a change as well over the break. Just try and confirm that in a moment. But 1-0 it is to Uruguay. and South Africa need a way back into this game in the second half. I don't think there has been a change in personnel, just looking out over the field, and the 22 players that are down there. Pienaar gets a header inside the South African half, gives it back to Gaka on the right hand side, and again it's straight towards Godin, one of the Uruguayan defenders who've dealt with pretty much everything that's come their way. Looking back over the first half, there was that one header from Mapela that was over the crossbar. Very good cross from the right hand side that time. Shabala had 2 long range shots, but that's pretty much been all that they've been able to muster, the host nation. And once again finding it difficult to break through midfield here in the early stages of the second half.
They're going to have to try and get a lot more support up to the striker, and I think they are trying to do so. I can see that they're trying to bring the wide boys in a little bit more, get them closer to the forwards. But first of all, they need to get a passage of play, which to get on the ball and see if they can get a bit more further up the pitch.
Here's Shabalala, the goal scorer on the opening game, but he's lost possession here down the right hand side. Maxi Pereira dealing with him very well, setting off at pace over the halfway line. Little drag back brings him away from Pienaar, and then Perez swings it across the halfway line to Alvaro Pereira, and Uruguay break into the South Africa half. With him is Fusil, and he tries to return the pass. South Africa make an interception. Mokoena, though, has made a mistake, giving the ball to the dangerous Suarez, attacking the penalty area now. Left-hand side, Suarez, low ball, into the middle for Cavani. He should have scored. He's put it wide. It's a goal kick. What an opportunity, and what wonderful movement from Suarez.
Suarez committing the defender, getting at him, getting to the byline and putting the ball in. And I've got to say, the boy got across the defender brilliantly well, and I thought he was just going to toe poke it home. He probably gets too big a touch on it, but the left back done well, stuck with him and just done enough to put him off.
3 minutes played here in the second half. South Africa 0, Uruguay 1. Diego Forlan's goal in the first half, deflected in off Mokoena. This is Suarez again down the left hand side. Mokoena comes out to try and close him down, attacks him early this time, but I think he's given away a free kick down by the corner flag, and Suarez goes to ground.
Yeah, Suarez again. The key to it at the moment is Suarez. South Africa need to make sure that it stays 1-0. Well, it's 1-0, they'll always have a chance of getting back in the game. They can't afford to lose a second goal from a set piece here.
Suarez has come into this tournament, really blossoming reputation. We mentioned all the goals that he scored in the Dutch League this season. His reputation will only be growing, particularly on tonight's performance. I mean, would you expect the big clubs to be in for a player like him, or is he at that stage yet?
Well, I think the goals he scored in Ajax is giving everybody an idea that he's a really good player. I think you look at a lot of players that score goals quite often in Holland, and you question maybe is it easier to score there or not, but I've got to say, on tonight's performance, he's played really well.
Now, this is interesting. Suarez is having to walk off the field. The reason for it is that he's got some blood in his mouth, and if you are bleeding, you have to leave the field of play. That was the knock that Mokoena inflicted on him for the free kick. But Uruguay kind of missing out now, because Suarez, their strikers, has to leave the field while Forlan prepares to take the free kick.
Yeah, he got a wee bit of a forearm smash.
It's sort of, there's no justice in football sometimes. He's been fouled, and yet Uruguay are now down to 10 men for the free kick. But that's the way it is, and they, particularly at World Cup level, will be very aware of the hygiene, the medical reasons to do with a player who is bleeding. Forlan's been delaying taking the free kick, probably hoping that Suarez might have made it back on, but he hasn't. Here comes the delivery, right-footed from Forlan, bounces inside the 6-yard box, across the face of goal, and out for a goal kick. You very seldom see that a ball comes in, bounces inside the 6-yard box, and nobody gets a touch on it.
Good movement by the Uruguay, trying to attack the ball, but well marked by the South African boys, and as you rightly say, it went right through the middle of the goal.
Suarez is on, he looks like a boxer. They've just stuffed some cotton wool into his mouth to stem the blood.
Yeah, he'll be okay, I'm sure. It looks as if he's just caught one in the lip, get a burst lip.
Perez with a header for Uruguay, straight up into the air. Shabalala tries to get it under control for South Africa, but it's the South Americans, Uruguay, who've got plenty of tricks up their sleeve. And Suarez back heel to Forlan, back to Suarez on the right hand side, cuts now into the penalty area, one way then the other, goes down in the penalty area. Referee gave it a really good look. He actually turned his body, the referee, as if he was going to give a penalty, and then changed his mind and waved play on.
Referee put the whistle to his mouth. And I wasn't sure if he was given the penalty or a dive, but he definitely put the whistle to his mouth, so it'll be interesting to see. I thought it looked as if he went down a little bit easy on the first viewing, but the referee was thought about it, certainly. Big call, particularly if South Africa were to get it back to 1-1 here.
But as you said, Suarez looked to be falling to the ground, wanting a penalty. Shabalala gives away the ball inside the Uruguay half. This is South Africa against Uruguay on BBC 5 Live. 1-0 to the South Americans. The goal scorer Forlan. And possession now with Medice, who comes up to the halfway line for South Africa. And now Pienaar. And a chance of a counter-attack if they can keep this moving here. Bit of space wide on the right-hand side. Two wait for it in the middle, but the cross once again doesn't arrive. And that's been the story of the game for South Africa.
Really poor there that the boy didn't go and take him on. And South Africa are really struggling to get a grip of the game. It's Uruguay who started the second half much better. And again, the pairing of Forlan and Suarez are causing them real problems at the back.
Just seen a close-up at our monitor of Suarez. He looks like a sort of a comedy Dracula on Halloween. He's like the two fangs coming out of his mouth, these two balls of cotton wool in his mouth.
Yeah, I think he gets down quite easily. I've seen it again. I think there is a little bit of contact, but I think he gets down quite easy.
Gumalo was the defender. And just for a moment, he had a nervous look towards the referee. And as we said, the Swiss official, Busaka, put the whistle to his mouth. And as referees already did, they point to the spot. He sort of moved his body and then in the last split second said, play on. Another free kick here to Uruguay. It's midway inside the South African half. It's on the left, over near the touchline, far side of the field from us. And Forlan, who's at the heart of everything for Uruguay, prepares to take. The goalkeeper Kune rattles his studs against the base of the post. The South African defenders taking a line along the edge of the penalty area. Suarez is at the back post. Lugano, the captain, has come up from the back as well. He's now making some movement. And Forlan waits. And still waiting. The referee is trying to keep tabs on if there's any pushing in the box. Here's the cross. Here's Lugano. Oh, it's come off the back of his shoulders and it's somehow smuggled away out for a corner. It would have been a free header, but he dipped his head and it hit the top of his back.
It was a free header, and they worked a block off at the edge of the box, which got him in, and it was well worked, and he gets himself a chance to head the ball in. And as you say, he dips before it. Maybe the ball drops a little bit before it gets to him. But at the moment, South Africa are offering very little, and it looks all Uruguay.
The goal for Forlan, that dipped very much at the end, and that cross, as you said, it was very similar. It was coming in a high trajectory, and I think Lugano was deceived by the flight of the ball. Here comes the penalty. Forlan, low towards the front post, headed away by Masilela, and it goes out for a throw-in to the South Americans on the far side. They've just been re-establishing their control in this game.
Yeah, again, I've just seen it there. They're blocking off that really well, Uruguay, to get people in. The South Africa will need to be careful. That one, the boy got away. The ball just dropped in front of him. Danny
Baker coming up on 5 Live at the end of this game. We have not played 10 minutes yet in the second half. Perez has a header in the centre circle, then he lunges in, but South Africa are going to hold on to the ball here for the moment at least until Aravalo Rios comes in, does a good job in midfield to win possession and releases Suarez on the right hand side. The first pass for Suarez comes straight back to him. He gets around the defender, good recovery, you have to say, sliding in, and it was Kumalo, and it will be a goal kick for South Africa. Suarez, again the man who was buzzing with energy.
I think South Africa will need to make some changes here to see if they can change the flow of the game, because at this present time it's all Uruguay. I think they'll need to probably get another forward up front, possibly look to play the ball a bit quicker up to them, see if they can put Uruguay under pressure.
There's a bit of activity down on the South African bench. Pieces of paper have been furiously written. Tracksuit tops are being flung under benches. This is Stephen Pienaar of Everton near the centre circle for South Africa, trailing here after picking up a draw in their opening game. And now Shabalala, the man who scored in Johannesburg last Friday, gives it to the fullback Masiela. Low ball into the penalty area, looking for Pienaar. Lugano was there to clear away.
Yeah, again, they just can't quite get a grip of the ball. They can't get it into the box. And I mean, the Uruguay goalkeeper, I don't think is a safe to make. And as I said in the half-time, I don't think they've been in the box more than 2 or 3 times, South Africa. They need to try and get the ball forward quicker and get the ball in there and get more players in there.
Masiela, the fullback, cross in from the left-hand side. This time Godin was there and able to clear the ball away. Picked up and now by Pinar. Edge of the area, low shot, tried to curl it. I don't think it would have been on target. Came away off the legs of a defender. South Africa hold on to possession inside the Uruguay half. This is 5 Live from the BBC in Pretoria. It's 1-0 to Uruguay. The ball has gone out of play on the far side. And now we can get a chance to have the substitution. And surprise Moriri. Surprised by name. Surprised that he was included in the South African squad. And he's going to come on here in place of Letsholayani. So a more attackingly minded player coming on for a more defensively minded midfielder, but they had to change something.
Yeah, they've had to do something and see if they can get a bit more pressure on Uruguay. This may well open it up a little bit because they've sat back all the time, South Africa. But, you know, if they're not careful, they'll go to the World Cup and they need to try and get a result.
Moriri, the new man who scored 5 international goals in the past. Here comes the free kick. Shabalala swings it in, headed up by Mipela at the front post. Straight up into the air. Lugano, unchallenged, heads it down, and Forlan will hook it over his shoulder up towards Suarez, but Uruguay can't get out of their own half. Pinar picks it up for Everton, and he's found some good space for Medisa on the left-hand side. Oh dear, he tried a back heel, it didn't come off at all. South Africa could be caught here. There's a counter-attack, 3-on-3. Forlan is coming forward as well. It's Alvaro Pereira, and then he's given the ball away, and the mistakes beginning to creep in. But what a shame for South Africa, who seem to have a counter-attack of their own building, and now they've got to defend. Alvaro Pereira rolls it across the edge of the penalty area, but it's intercepted by Dekachoy, and South Africa can come forward to the halfway line. The game beginning to stretch nicely now. It's got the real feeling of a cup match about it. Shabalala in midfield. To his right-hand side, Dekachoy. Over into space to Pinar, who's playing slightly more in a wide position. Not as central as he was in the first half. He's got support from Gaka. This needs to be a good cross. It's definitely not. It's too high. It's over the crossbar. And a goal kick to Uruguay. South Africa 0, Uruguay 1. And that was quite a busy passage of play, David Moyes.
I wouldn't have been happy with the cross I got at the last minute there. They had a chance to develop the play. Stephen Pinar's now moved to the right, and they'll need to do better. They're going to cross the ball over the bar. They're going to have no chance. So they need better quality. They need to get the ball forward a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and try and get the ball into the box.
On the anniversary of the Soweto uprising, all of South Africa at a standstill, watching their national football team in their second game at this World Cup as hosts, and trailing here to the South Americans, Uruguay, who've put in a very solid performance tonight. There's been few mistakes, if any, from the Uruguayans, and this is Maxi Pereira on the right-hand side, wants to run at the full-back. Maciela has made a good interception. He was the one change in the starting 11 from the first game. He's on the ball again. His clearances struck Cavani, but Uruguay don't get the ball back. Shabalala is coming forward. He loses out once again. They're playing marginally better, South Africa, but still not the end results. What do you think,
they're frustrating at the moment because if they could play a little bit quicker and give each other the ball, and maybe that's just what they are. Maybe they just don't quite have that quality. Uruguay look a better side with Forlan, Suarez, and the players in the middle of the park protecting them. But South Africa are struggling, and at this present time don't look a good team.
No, Luis Suarez has won another free kick, fouled again by Mokoena, the South African captain. This one's 15-20 yards outside the penalty area, wide on the left-hand side. Once again, Forlan, the talisman, the number 10 for Uruguay, just bounces the ball on his foot and places it now ahead of this free kick. It's definitely too far out for a shot, but all the same, South Africa are erecting a two-man wall here. The goalkeeper, Kune, wants to be careful. 5 players in white jerseys way to the far post. This is Forlan, digs it in, headed out for a corner it looked to be, yes. Linesman wasn't too sure. Referee points towards the corner flag.
Yeah, I thought Forlan was going to take the shot on. I thought he was going to dip another one there and see if he could get it on, but they've actually delivered in good balls into the box, Uruguay, and they've got it on the end of it. It just goes for a corner kick.
The ball's been a hot topic, and we haven't seen a free kick scored yet in this tournament. Forlan's goal, when I saw it first, I said, finally, a real blistering shot from me. But when you see the deflection, I don't think that's let the ball off the hook, if you know what I mean, in terms of the speculation that's been building. Let's talk about that in just a moment. Uruguay have a corner. Forlan to take it with the blonde hair on the right-hand side. the Atletico Madrid man. Chipped in towards the front post. Logano's missed it again. Suarez collects. His second touch is very heavy in the penalty area, and Pinar is able to clear it away. But Uruguay quickly regain possession, and Fusil chips it in towards the edge of the penalty area. Cavani has a fresh air shot. Now, chance of a counter-attack. Mapela for South Africa. There are 4 defenders back for Uruguay, but this is Maciella on the left. 3 to aim from the middle. Here comes the cross, and headed away by Perez, and Uruguay deal with the aerial threat once again.
Like another corner kick there for Uruguay, and a block off. They've done it again, and they're on the verge of scoring again, Uruguay. I mean, you'd hope that South Africa now had got to terms with it and dealt with it.
Maxi Pereira for Uruguay with the purple and orange boots on the right hand side. Lazy challenge from Shabalala. 2 defenders asleep here. Pereira goes for goal, but it rises and away and high and wide to the right hand side. Over an hour played now in Pretoria, and Uruguay look like they might still have some goals in them, let alone an equaliser for South Africa.
Yeah, I think South Africa are beginning to get a bit ragged again. They're needing to try and get a period of possession and play into the Uruguay half, and really, as I said, we've not seen the Uruguay goalkeeper all night.
Is the atmosphere beginning to turn a little bit flat here as the home fans, the realisation dawning on them that this game is not going their way. It is still just 1-0, of course, and far stranger things have happened in football, and this is Gaka with a touch to the new man, Moriri in midfield. Pinar gets involved, and Gaka again on the right hand side, trying to release Stephen Pinar in around the back of the full-back. And to be fair, Godin puts in a good challenge, and that will be possession back to Uruguay.
He didn't give Stephen the ball early enough. He needs to give him the ball early, and held on to it again, and the right back's given the ball away several times. And if they're going to get Stephen in the game, they're going to have to make sure they get it to him and give him an opportunity to do something with it. 52nd
cap tonight for Stephen Pinar, the number 10 for South Africa, and here's the number 10 for Uruguay on the ball. It's Diego Forlan. Midway inside the South Africa half, loses it briefly. Digachoy will jump in. That was a bit of a late one, and I think Fusile has felt that.
Yeah, and he was booked in the first half, so
yes,
you know, if he hasn't got this right, he could have been in trouble. But the referee's not given anything, and he might have been a little bit fortunate. I'm not too sure.
Well, we've seen the challenge that saw Tim Cahill, your player at Everton, David, get the card. We've just seen the replay here. What do you think?
I thought it was a good tackle.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is nowadays, you know, there's a slight thing that maybe his 2 feet were going under the ball. I've seen referees who now say, well, you're getting in with a sort of dangerous intent. But I think the boy goes for the ball, and if we're going to eradicate tackles anymore, you know, it's going to become a different game from what we're all used to.
Yeah, Kagisho Digachoy was one of the players we're looking at there, but it was Shabalala, I thought, who was it Digachoy or Shabalala? Maybe it was Digachoy who challenged the Fulham man. Played a lot in the cup competitions for Roy Hodgson. I think just 7 appearances in the Premier League this season just passed, but he's a man who's popped up on the big occasion in the past for South Africa. He's got goals in the African Cup of Nations qualifiers not too long ago, and perhaps fortunate here to get away without another caution from the referee. So play back underway here. Disappointing clearance from the Uruguayan defenders, and Stephen Pinar collects possession on the right hand side, and 1-2 with Gaka, and Pinar now will sweep in from the right. Not too many options for him. He gives it to Medisa, and then back to the defenders, and it's Mokoena to Kumalo, and Uruguay appear to be very much in control.
Yeah, they are, and they're pressing them as well. No, they're getting tight to them, and when they come into their half, they're getting to them. The midfield boys are getting up to them, and I've got to say, I think Forlan and Suarez have worked really hard to press them as well at the right moments. Not all the time, but they're doing a good job, and South Africa are having a real struggle to get anywhere into their half at all.
And a longer ball that time played up towards Mapela. A similar result, there was a Uruguayan defender clears it away for a throw-in. South Africa take it on the right-hand side, lose possession immediately. Suarez to Forlan, looking for Cavani. It's a new 3 up front system tonight with Suarez and Cavani just in front of Diego Forlan. On Friday against France, it was just Forlan and Suarez up front. But this new formation is working for the South Americans. Here comes South Africa, left-hand side, Masilela. Low ball in towards surprise Moriri. Digachoy spots that there's room on the far side for Gaka. It's a decent ball out. Good first time control as well. Now Pienaar, just outside the penalty area. This is what they want to do. Get him involved a little bit more. Back out to Gak on the right-hand side. Oh, it's a much better cross. Mapela attacks it to the front post and puts it wide. He was very much under pressure from the goalkeeper who had run out with him, and Mapela can't direct the ball towards the goal.
Much better.
Yes.
Got into a good crossing area, and they've got 3 people in the box waiting for the cross, and it is a really good ball in. The centre forward is across the front of the defender and just wide. But if South Africa are going to get back into it, that's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah, that was much, much better. And crucially, after the build-up, the cross was a good one as well. And that's not something we've said very often tonight about this host nation. So Muslera clears the ball. Very long clearance as well, all the way to Suarez on the edge of the South Africa penalty area. And the goalkeeper is going to try and make sure that doesn't go for a corner. I think the linesman's already given it down here. Just to describe this just at home, Kune came out, big lunge to try and keep the ball from going out for a corner. He nearly presented it to Suarez, but in any event, it has gone out and it is going to be a corner to Uruguay.
Yeah, and it came from a goal kick from the goalie. He nearly kicks it the full length of the pitch to the edge of the box, and the defenders misjudged the flight of the ball, which has happened quite a lot due to, I'm sure, the altitude, and obviously we've talked a lot about the ball already.
Mark mentioned at half-time that it's the mascot's birthday, however that is. It's also Muslera, the Uruguayan goalkeeper's birthday today. Here comes the corner. Forlan swings it in, low trajectory, easily dealt with, and headed back towards the halfway line, where Fusil will turn and give it low to Maxi Pereira, and he in turn will give it all the way back to the birthday boy, Fernando Muslera. Plays his club football in Italy with Lazio. He's a young man, but he's already first choice at club and international level. As going to ground there is Aravalo Rios. Play on, says the referee, but South Africa cannot get out of their own half, and they've got to turn and defend now as Forlan crosses from the left. There's a shot by Cavani. He didn't get it, came off his shin really. It's gone wide of the target for a goal kick.
Really good chance, and they gave that away, South Africa. It was in a position given away, and then they were through, and Uruguay had a good chance.
3/4 of the way through the game, 1-0 to Uruguay, and Mike Sewell will talk you through the full time.
And South Africa have possession on their right, attacking that goal away to our left in this second half with Steven Pienaar. Plays it short, the ball is then played into Modisa, 30 yards out, tries a shot towards goal, but Muslera was well positioned for that and just watched the ball land between his palms, and he can now clear from inside his own penalty area.
Yeah, shot, and it was on target. It's the first time the goalkeepers had anything to do really since the opening minutes of the game. A little bit better by South Africa. Steven Pienaar's beginning to get a bit of the ball on the right, and they've had a couple of crossing positions recently, so let's hope that gives them an opportunity to get a goal.
Just watching a 20-30 strong crew of Bafana fans who've practically done a lap of honour in the last 10 minutes. They've gone all the way around the exterior of the pitch area, blowing their vuvuzelas, stopping occasionally just to kind of get some response from the fans in various parts of the ground. As they do that, we're watching one of the Uruguay players down on the floor needing treatment. I don't know if it's Fusil or not, or it's a recurrence of that knock he picked up a few moments ago from the challenge by Dikachoy, but the stretch has been brought out.
Yeah, I think the Latin American players are very good at the right times in the game, killing the game off, and now they've got themselves in front and they want the clock to run down as quickly as they can and get themselves a victory. But I think they'll still get a chance of getting another goal, Uruguay. They're playing well enough, and South Africa have got to just hang in there and hope to get the equaliser.
Uruguay about to make their first substitution of the match. Whether it's for Fusil, who's now been stretchered off the pitch on the far side, remains to be seen, but Alvaro Fernandez is about to come on. Uruguay down to 10 men momentarily, but leading by a goal to nil. Here's Masilela inside the Uruguay half, plays it back to Kamalo, and now via Dikachoy it's out to the far side of the field to captain Mokoena. Forward into the feet of Steven Pienaar, just outside the Uruguay penalty area on the right. The cross is blocked at close range and it's cleared by Uruguay into touch. Fusil is back on his feet, but he is going to come off. He's going to have to make the long trek around the pitch to get back to the dugout, and Fernandez, a midfielder, replaces him.
Again, good position, just didn't deliver a bit good enough ball. They're beginning to get one or two more people in the box now, South Africa. They're going to have to take some gambles now. There's 20 minutes or so to go in the game.
Their final match is against France, David. If they don't get anything here, do you expect they can get anything? Well, they're going to have to win that game, aren't they?
I think every game, as I said, because the groups are so tight, I think, to lose, it certainly won't mean they're out. But as we're well aware, that at this point, if Uruguay get 4 points and there's another game to come, then it'll be very hard for them.
The next game in this group is this time tomorrow night, France versus Mexico in Polokwane. Also tomorrow at lunchtime, Argentina against South Korea in Johannesburg, and mid-afternoon, Greece against Nigeria in Bloemfontein. All those matches, of course, here on 5 Live from the BBC as Uruguay press on the edge of the South Africa area. Cavani tries a long-distance effort, and given the fact he had time to direct that volley towards goal, that was a poor effort.
Yeah, I thought he was going to hit it. He did hit it in the volley. I expected better from him, but it flew over the bar.
Just to reiterate, earlier today there were 1-0 victories for both Chile, who beat Honduras in Nelspruit, and for Switzerland, a shock win over Spain in Group H in Durban. They beat them by 1-0. Gelson Fernandes, the former Manchester City midfielder, got the decisive goal there, and that is the scoreline here in Pretoria, with around 18 and a half minutes plus stoppage time to go. South Africa have a free kick a couple of yards in from the touchline, down their right flank. Shabalala goes across to take it. He scored in the opening game. South Africa could do with a goal from him now.
It's a decent position if they can deliver a good ball in. I mean, a draw at this present time would be like a win for South Africa. They've not been in the game, and it certainly would keep them right in the tournament. So if they get a goal back, who knows what can happen.
Shabalala with a free kick from the right. It's a poor one. It dips in low to the second defender, and he heads clear, and it's up towards Suarez. Bundled off the ball by Masilela, out wide to Dikachoy in the South Africa left, played in field. Pienaar 30 yards out, struck it well, but it also struck Aravala Rios, played into the Uruguay penalty area. Logano has to defend and heads it out for a corner.
It's better, they're beginning to get the ball near the box, they're beginning to get a shot. I think we'll be waiting this from the start of the game, and I can certainly hear the difference in the crowd as well. They can sense it as well. They've been too slow in their play, and now they realise they have to get a goal back.
Corner's going to be taken from the far side of the field. The Vuvuzela sound rises inside this stadium, the Loftus Versfeld Stadium. Here comes the corner, high to the back post, and it's beyond anyone, any of the players on the pitch. It's out for a throw.
That drives you mad as a manager. You've had a little bit of pressure. All you want is a good delivery into the box, and the last two he's taken. The first one hits the first defender, and the second one there floats it away on the far side for a throw in. So two good opportunities, both missed to put the ball in a dangerous area.
And Shabalala, the culprit on both occasions, plays his football in South Africa for Kaizer Chiefs, but he's trying to help his country claw their way back into this match, trailing by 1-0. The ball is with Gaka on the far side of the field. Back in to the centre circle with Dikachoy, who looks at his teammates and says, give me more options. He gets the ball back now in midfield. Modise plays it wide to the right, plays stretch now. Gaka in space, plays the ball into the penalty area. Scoop the ball in is probably a better description. It's now out for a throw.
Yeah, if he could deliver a good cross, he's had one, then there's a chance. They're getting in down the right much better. Stephen Pienaar's looking much more comfortable off the side. He's linking them up, and they're beginning to get good play around the edge of the box. If they could get the right back to deliver a good ball.
Gaka tries to do it there, but it's blocked at close range, and now it's going to be a throw which Gaka will take into the feet of the aforementioned Pienaar, but his little flick over the top, which was neat, finds Gaka in an offside position. It's a free kick to Uruguay.
Yeah, they just need to try and keep going. The time's running out for them, but they've done a little bit better in the last 5 or 10 minutes, so let's see if they can try and keep the pressure up and a bit more tempo, and get the ball out wide and get it in the box.
Plenty of discussion going on the South Africa bench between Carlos Alberto Pereira, the coach, and his assistants, discussing what might be the next ploy with 15 minutes remaining. Here's Masilela, doesn't deal with that very well. Cavani tries to flick the ball through to Suarez, just inside the left edge of the area, goes round a challenge, plays the ball in, deflected away by Kune, picked up by Perez. Near side as we look on the right, Perez loses his feet, It is tackled by Shabalala, but again South Africa don't clear. Forlan shot, finds Suarez, he goes down under a challenge, and that is a penalty kick to Uruguay, and Kune is beside himself. He's waving at the referee saying no penalty, but Massimo Pasaka has awarded Uruguay the chance to put this game to bed, and Kune is going to receive a card of some kind. I suspect it's a red. That is the case. The goalkeeper of South Africa has been sent off, and he is beside himself.
Yeah, the ball spun through 2 or 3 players, and my first thought was that he didn't get it and it was a penalty kick. I'll need to look at it again. The referee only has one chance to see it. Gave a penalty kick, and I think if he gives a penalty kick, he definitely has to send him off, because he was certainly the last man. The boy knocks it past him. He's going to put it into an empty net, and it's probably no more than Uruguay deserve. Any time Suarez has got down the side of the box, he has been a real threat. Inside right, inside left, he's done a really good job, and he catches him, and for me, the referee's got it right.
I think it's going to be some time before this penalty's taken, as Kune, rather distraught, heads down the tunnel, because Moni Josephs wasn't even prepared, as you might expect from a goalkeeper. He had to put his shorts on, his top on. He's now putting his shin pads on, tying his bootlaces, as the South Africa players away to our right consult the referee about that decision, but I don't think he had any other choice.
No, he got it right. He had to send them off. I think there was an argument from South Africa. Was he offside? The ball spun through. I thought it was a ricochet that went through. I didn't think it was offside. I thought it was definitely onside. And they were just untidy, South Africa. They didn't clear the lines well enough, and that could be it for them. If this goes in, then I would say that would be over for South Africa tonight.
Tonight.
What
about the tournament?
For the tournament, it doesn't mean that it's over, but I'd say that on what I'm seeing tonight, South Africa don't look good enough to go out this group just now.
And they would, as we mentioned, as Connor mentioned earlier, be the first host nation not to make it out of the first round at the World Cup finals. This is a very pivotal moment in the competition. The discussions between referee Pasaka and some of the South African players continue. Josephs is continuing to get prepared for this. We're going to have a fair bit of stoppage time at the end of this game, time which South Africa will need if Uruguay extend their lead. The man who got the first goal, Diego Forlan, will take the penalty. He has the ball clutched between his left hand and his left hip, and he's just trotting around the penalty area, waiting to take this spot kick. You'd have thought, I have to say, fair enough, he might not have his gloves on, but you'd have thought he might have been more ready than this.
Yeah, you'd think so. That's it. The time it takes them to get ready now, the boys on the bench, we have it all the time. I say, how long does it take for the substitutes to get ready? They've either not got their top on, they've not got their tie-ups on, their pads aren't on. It's getting to a ridiculous stage. You really need to tell them to get ready, even if you're not putting them on. But the goalkeeper's about to enter the field now. Diego Forlan's had a long time to stand and think about it. But he's experienced, and I think everybody would expect him to score, but who knows?
So Monib Josephs, who now looks set to play in the last game against France, is going to come on, and your man Stephen Pienaar has been sacrificed.
Yeah, and I think Stephen's the one who's making them play. I even thought that the other day, but and no doubt they'll say that Stephen's not produced, and maybe in tonight's performance not enough.
Well, Carlos Alberto Pereira and all his coaches have kind of apologised to Pienaar as he comes off the bench. They had to take an outfield player off to allow Josephs to come on. Now, can he make himself something of a hero, at least keep South Africa in this game? He didn't make the squad for last year's Confederations Cup, the 30-year-old who plays his football for Orlando Pirates. Now, can he deny Diego Forlan, one of the top strikers in Europe? The Vuvuzelas roar around the stadium in Pretoria. Just over 10 minutes to go. Uruguay lead 1-0. Can they double that lead? Away to our right. Forlan against Josephs, who hasn't even had a touch yet. Referee Pasaka makes sure everybody's outside the area. Forlan, right-footed, steps up, and he slides it into the roof of the net. No chance for Josephs. There are plenty of players in yellow and green who are standing around with their hands on their hips. Uruguay have made it 2-0 and have gone some way to making it very difficult for South Africa to get past the first stage of these World Cup finals.
They certainly have, and more importantly for Uruguay, that I would say wins them the game tonight. South Africa down to 10 men, 2-0 up now. It'll be very hard, but a brilliantly taken penalty kick. For a moment I thought it had gone too high. The ball seemed to rise really quickly, hits it high into the roof of the net, and but in the end, no, it was nearly unstoppable. To be fair to the goalkeeper, chose the right way, but just couldn't quite get his fingers to it.
You're right, I thought exactly the same thing. It looked like it was going to rise over the bar, but again, he had a little bit of dip at the end.
I think it'll be something people need to be aware of. Players will need to be aware. The ball's going to, when it does get in the air, as we've seen already, it certainly flies, and you won't want to be putting your penalties over the bar.
Well, it's going to need one mammoth effort now from South Africa to get something out of this game, what with 10 men. And indeed, that game against France next week is key to their survival. Here's Modise from the right, crosses in rather speculatively, and I say cross generously because it's gone out for a goal kick.
No, South Africa, I mean, we've said it near enough. Except for the opening 5 or so minutes of the game, South Africa have, I don't think they've had any real part in the game. But I've got to say, Uruguay don't look bad, and I think my dark horses, at least I can get something out of it a little bit, but they look a decent team, Uruguay.
Well, they have won this trophy twice. Of course, in the first tournament back in 1930, and again 20 years later. They've finished in the top 4 a couple of times in addition to that, but they required a playoff to get to these World Cup finals, and just looking around this stadium, some seats are already emptying and some South Africa fans are heading for the exits. Yeah,
I mean, they see their team now down to 10 men. I think they know it's not going to be easy for them. So, but they're having a go. As a manager, I wouldn't have taken Stephen Pienaar off down to 10 men, because he'd be the one who could maybe get on the ball, make it happen and do the job. But that's what managers do. They're paid to make the decisions.
The ball is with South Africa on the far side of the field. They're right. 8 minutes of normal time to play. We'll have a fair deal of stoppage time. In fact, there was more than 4 minutes delay between the penalty award and the sending off of Kune and then the arrival of Josephs. So we'll probably have at least 4 minutes of added time, and Fossil has been down as well, so maybe 6 or 7 minutes. South Africa have possession with Modise out on the right hand side, just a yard in from the touchline. Gaka has it, steps in field, trying to find their way through a swathe of white shirts. It's now back on the right, infield to Gaka, edge of the area. His shot is blocked at close range by Alvaro Pereira. And then one of the substitutes, Moriri, tries to keep the ball in play but fails to do so.
Yeah, they had a decent spell just before the penalty kick, South Africa. They looked as if they were trying to get the equaliser, and while it was 1-0, they were always with a chance of getting back in the game. But it looked a mistake round the edge of the box. They didn't clear the ball well enough, and the ricochet led to the goalkeeper getting sent off in the penalty kick.
Look at the seats emptying. Lots of light blue seats around this stadium are now unoccupied. And we've still got 6.5 minutes of normal time to play, with South Africa trailing by 2-0. 2 goals for Diego Forlan of Atletico Madrid. Here's Shabalala, plays it infield to Mpela, who's come deep, but he can't keep the ball, and it's now with Suarez, who won that penalty, and he skips away from his opposite number, Mpela, but then his pass is poor and it's picked up by South Africa in midfield. 5 Live Sport from the BBC. Danny Baker follows this programme. Moriri plays it to the edge of the area. Shabalala into the box. Goes, I think, Gaka, and rather theatrically goes down. I think that dive was a bit late, and he doesn't win anything.
I'm sure it'll be Forlan who gets all the plaudits for the penalty, and obviously the goal he scored as well. But I think Suarez up front alongside him would, if I was picking man of the match, would be the one for me. I think down the side of the box, he's taking people on, got at them, been a real threat. So Uruguay up front look quite powerful at the moment.
Well, not only will Kune miss the France game, but as we said earlier, one of the anchor men in midfield, Dikashoy, the Fulham player, will also miss the game, having picked up 2 yellow cards. Here come Uruguay, though, attacking now. Perez in space on the near edge of the penalty area, but good defending by Shabalala. Coming back to help his defenders, as he'll need to do, with only 10 men on the field for South Africa in the closing stages. Here is Dikashoy. up towards Moriri on the far side of the field. Just inside the Uruguay half. Back to Gaka. Now it's with Modise, who switches play to this near side, the South Africa left. Masalela gets the ball from Shabalala. Back to Masalela from him again. Infield once more. There needs to be a touch more urgency if South Africa are going to create any problems here for Uruguay. But Uruguay have got enough white shirts behind the ball to keep them at bay. Here's Masalela on the left again. Midway inside the Uruguay half. Shabalala goes down under a challenge. And everything they're looking for is not coming their way. And so Uruguay on the counter-attack. Out to Cavani from Forlan. Left edge of the area. Cavani steps in. 20 yards out. Drives in a low shot, which scuffed the surface of this pitch and into the arms of Joseph.
With a 3v3 there, and I was about to say, well, we're maybe going to get the first hat-trick of the World Cup with Diego Forlan, get a chance now to get it. Good pass and good play, just the finish wasn't quite there.
Well, the second of the Fernandez is about to come on for Uruguay. We've had Alvaro. Sebastian's preparing to come on. He plays his football in Argentina. In the meantime, South Africa have possession. 3.5 minutes to play. Trailing 2-0. Shabalala's shot. Tries to just hook his foot around that ball, but I think it just took a slight deflection and just skipped into the arms of Muslera, the Uruguay goalkeeper, and he plays it out to the left side to Alvaro Pereira. David Moyes.
Yeah, it's comfortable now for Uruguay. They've got 11 men, and South Africa with the 10 makes it difficult for them to really cause them any problems. And you might yet see another goal for Uruguay here. They're sitting in, and as I said, maybe Forlan could end up with a hat-trick tonight.
It's he who has the ball now, switching play to this near side, the Uruguay right. Suarez beautifully brings the ball down on his right foot, can't quite feed the pass to Perez, and Masalela comes away with it. Dikachoy helps it on, but only helps it to Aravelo Rios. He wants the return pass from Forlan inside the area. Good block by Mokoena, who comes away with it down the right.
And I think Forlan there was a pass inside he could have maybe taken on. I think Forlan was hoping to skip inside him and maybe get him shot away for that third goal.
Here's Shabalala up to Mpela, midway inside the Uruguay half. Hasn't had a lot tonight as he tries a long distance effort. He's not been given a great deal of service, and he isn't going to score from almost 40 yards out.
No, he got it on target, and they've not had many of them all night, South Africa, so he looked to hit it well enough, but as you rightly said, it was too far out.
I guess South Africa will hope that tomorrow's match between France and Mexico in their group is a draw, which gives them a bit more of an opportunity, because if another team gets away from them with 4 points, it's going to make it incredibly hard for them.
Does it make, is Uruguay Mexico any type of derby in any way?
Well, Mexico is Central America, really. Uruguay is South America. I'm sure there's some kind of rivalry, but not quite the same as maybe Brazil or the like in South America. Here's Maxi Pereira. Long distance effort from Suarez is blocked at close range by Kamalo, and it's gone out for a throw on this near side. And Sebastian Fernandez will come on finally for Edinson Cavani, the man who plays his football for Palermo in Italy, replaced by the man who plays his football for Banfield in Argentina, to come on. And there's not much urgency on the part of Cavani, who just trots to the edge of the pitch as we move into the final minute of the 90 in Pretoria. Many Bafana fans have left their seats all around this stadium and have headed home. Their hopes, their dreams are beginning to fade.
I think they're leaving because of the traffic, trying to get away from some of these grounds.
Funny enough, we got here 4 hours before kick-off, and there was a queue of traffic getting into the stadium. Here's Moriri for South Africa inside his own half, plays it square to Modise, and then out wide to the right to find Gaka, but he needs someone in that right hand channel. He goes square instead to Modise, then Modise opts to go into that area as Mpela makes the run, but it's cut out very easily by Uruguay, and it's now with Pereira. Alvaro Pereira switches it to Sebastian Fernandez, who was hoping to get his first touch, but it's gone over his head and out for a throw. And now a third and final substitution, just a break-up play by Uruguay. We'll see Diego Perez come off, and the man replacing him, Walter Gargano, another player who plays his football in Italy for Napoli.
Yeah, the holding midfield players for Uruguay in front of the defenders tonight, I think have done a really good job. You know, they've looked compact, they've allowed the front boys the freedom to go and do what they have to do. But you know something what I like, they've really pressed South Africa. You know, they didn't just sit there and say, come on, I'm going to let you have the ball. They've got after them. And I've quite enjoyed seeing Uruguay. I think they've done okay.
We're into the first minute of added time at the end of this match. I'm not sure how many minutes are going to be added here. 5 in actual fact. I thought it might be more than that, given we had a long injury delay for Fasil, and of course the delay after Kune was sent off. So 4 minutes for South Africa to get some pride here, because it's not been a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. They've been very disappointing.
Goal difference could be important as well, so I think from South Africa's point of view, I don't see them scoring a goal, but they certainly don't want to concede anymore, because if it goes to that situation on the last game, you know, I think if they lose by 3, then it'll make it very, very difficult for them to score the amount they'll need to do in the last game.
Well, that France-Mexico game tomorrow night, of course, is on 5 Live, as is Greece-Nigeria tomorrow afternoon, and at lunchtime Argentina against South Korea. And South Africa will have to wait until next week to have their chance of getting something from the 1998 World Cup winners, France. That's going to be an offside, a free kick to Uruguay. And we're just seeing this game out, really, David, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I think when the minute it went to 10 men and 2-0, the game was over. And I mean, it's been a decent game. I think it's been okay. I've been really disappointed that South Africa haven't had a better go at it. But maybe that's just the quality South Africa are. I don't think MD expected them. I certainly didn't expect South Africa to have a real top World Cup, and I might beat my words by the end of it, but at the moment it doesn't look like it.
Uruguay have possession in the centre circle. Gargano into Arevalo Rios, but the move breaks down. South Africa have it with Dikachoy in midfield. He won't play any further part in the group stage. Dikachoy, he'll hope his teammates can keep their tournament alive. That ball's gone out of play for a throw. It's going to be a throw to Uruguay, despite Moriri's right arm raise, hoping that throw was going to be theirs. And now Uruguay just waiting to take the throw in. The beat of the drum is coming from the Uruguay fans. There's a big batch of them down in front of us here, waving their flags and their banners and their hats in what is a very cold night in Pretoria. The ball is with Arevalo Rios, back into defence and then out wide to the Uruguay left. Suarez has it, flicks it inside very neatly, and it's played further forward, and it's easy for Moni Josephs, who has the ball now and rolls it out to Dikachoy.
No, as you said, we're just seeing the game out now, but they're on the attack again, Uruguay, and here's Forlan
looking for a hat-trick just inside the area. Left foot shot, good block there by, I think it was Kamalo, and Forlan had his sights set on a hat-trick.
It was good defending, and Forlan was in. He was in for his hat-trick, and there's no doubt he'll be desperate to try and get it if he can. And another goal for Uruguay might make their last game much easier as well regarding qualification.
South Africa have been disappointing. The only time they got anywhere near scoring was when Mpelo went at the near post for a header, which was wide. Uruguay now have a corner. We are into the final minute of stoppage time. Forlan takes it, edge of the 6-yard box, headed away. Arevalo Rios then plays it to the left, further afield to Forlan, wide on the left-hand side, and then right-footed guides across deep to this near side. Suarez, brilliantly brought down, guides the ball to the back post, headed into the net by Alvaro Perez, and that completes the victory for Uruguay. They lead South Africa by 3-0 here in Pretoria. The goal difference might well matter.
It might well. What a ball by Forlan to Suarez, control immaculate, and then lobs it over the goalkeeper to the back post where it's an easy tap in. It was a really good goal, really good work goal by Uruguay, and as you said there, the goal difference now might become important. The ball back across was great, and the lovely side foot control pass across for an easy finish.
Completely unmarked at the far post, Alvaro Pereira, although his header wasn't the most complete. but it was enough to guide the ball into the net, to the delight of Oscar Tabarez, the coach of Uruguay, who led his team to the second phase at Italia 90, and is watching on now as referee Bazaka blows his whistle to end this game. And the very faint cheers and roars you can hear in the background are from the Uruguay fans. There's very little coming from those of South Africa. It's been a very disappointing night. They've been beaten here by 3-0. 2 goals from Diego Forlan. The first a dipping shot in the first half. The second a late penalty. Kune was sent off, the goalkeeper for South Africa. And then it was completed in the last minute of stoppage time by Alvaro Pereira. 3-0 for Uruguay, now on 4 points. South Africa have 1, and they're going to have to beat France, David Moyes.
South Africa poor, Uruguay decent looking side on that showing, and they'll take a lot of confidence, and the forward players played really well tonight. They were never really troubled defensively, so for Uruguay a pretty good night, but South Africa bog average for me.
To the disappointment of this country, it's finished South Africa 0, Uruguay 3.